This is Alabama Politics with Steve Flowers, an in-depth interview with Alabama's top political newsmakers. Now, from the studios of Troy University, here is Steve Flowers.
I'm Steve Flowers, and welcome to Alabama Politics. Folks, we're very fortunate tonight to have as our guest one of my good young friends, and he's a legend already in Alabama politics. He's one of the great mayors of the state because he's building a city that probably most of y'all may wind up living in, Pike Road, Alabama. Gordon Stone has been my friend for 20 years, and he is head of the Higher Education Council in the state, and he's got a beautiful wife, Ellen, and two beautiful daughters, and he had a vision for Pike Road, and folks, it will be the fastest growing city in Alabama in the next 10 years, and we're glad to have Mayor Gordon Stone on the show.
Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here with you, and we have been friends for a number of years, Steve.
Yeah, when I was in the legislature, you were already up at the Capitol.
That's right.
You know, all those years ago. Ellen was working for the Medical Association.
That's right.
And I was chairman of the Health Committee. I knew her daddy real well because, see, I had Ozark in my district.
Sure.
But I didn't get quite to Ozark. I had all of Pike County in the northern part of Dale, and he was superintendent down there in the Ozark City Schools, and so that's sort of interesting. He was an educator, and you are too by profession. I mean, really, you're a mayor part-time, and you're really a tell folks what you do full-time as your paying job as a head of the Higher Education Council in the state.
Very fortunate that in 1997, the public universities of the state decided that they wanted to create a voice for all their faculty, staff, students, alums, the constituency of the universities. And I was offered the opportunity to help put that together, and we started the Higher Education Partnership at that point, and it's been almost 20 years this year, and it's been an exciting experience. We've created an advocacy arm for the universities that can really accomplish three things: give those grassroots constituents a voice, tell the positive stories of all the great things we do at our universities that sometimes get overlooked. And then number three, just build relationships with the elected officials, build relationships with other organizations so that we can work together to try to make Alabama as great as it can possibly be. And it's been a real pleasure. I think the most significant thing we've accomplished, though, Steve, and what I've gotten the most joy from is some of those students who got involved with us, and we have student organizations that are really a leadership training ground. Some of them are now working in the legislature, working in Congress,
seen them, yeah.
working around the governor's office, working around other constitutional offices, and they're now the people who are making decisions, and we like to think that they now make those decisions with public education defined as pre-K through PhD, because one of the things we all know is that if we're going to lift Alabama, if we're going to create problem solvers, solution-oriented leaders, we have to make sure that they maximize their potential, and that means they need a strong educational base. And pre-K, K-12, and then the collegiate experience are all very important to making that happen.
Now, the junior college is not part of this.
No, so we just represented the four-year schools because really we knew that there was a unique product found in Alabama's four-year public institutions. The state of Alabama has a shortage of private schools. We don't have the big prominent, we have some great private institutions, don't hear me wrong. We are very fortunate to have great private four-year schools, but we don't have the big private four-year schools. So there's a heavier dependency on public 4 years in Alabama. And then we also have a deficiency in when you look at the national percentages, a number of Alabamians who pursue four-year degrees as a whole. So the need for that opportunity that the public four-year provides is really significant in our state, and so we've helped broaden that awareness. We've helped remind people that it's a great return on investment. You know that for every dollar the state puts in our public universities, there's a $12.5 return. That we have,
that right?
And we have over a $20 billion statewide economic impact every year. We celebrate, and as a mayor I understand this, we celebrate the contributions of some of our principal industrial partners, our automobile industry, for instance, and we should, and they'll bring in $6, $7, $8, $9 billion a year. Universities bring in $20 billion to Alabama's economy.
$20 billion
annually.
Does that include like the peripheral stuff around the football programs and stuff like that.
You know,
You're
really
not
what-
even competent in that, are you?
What we're counting really is just what that state dollar turnover means, and that doesn't include the dollars that are generated by auxiliaries, which are a part of university model too. And athletics is an auxiliary program, and most of the big institutions, for instance, here in Auburn and Alabama, athletics are completely self-contained. They don't use any state dollars.
But that's not in the 20 billion component, though.
No, there may be some sense of that if you talk about how the community grows, because you can't really separate out some of that economic benefit that comes from athletics. But when you talk about state dollar contributions, there aren't state dollars going into those programs, so that doesn't calculate the biggest products for sure.
Gordon, when you talk about your entity, there's just you and a small staff.
We have 3 of us that work statewide, and really, it's a model that is designed for efficiency.
That's
because,
a lean operation.
Well, when you talk about statewide, it is. But we try to complement the efficiencies and find efficiencies. Most of our institutions already have somebody that represents them. So we have a council of all of those individuals that we work with and through. I have a young guy who actually does our lobbying work. I do more, the association, the management role, and then we have a communications / sort of general administrative role too that we have. So it's a nice comfortable.
Where's y'all's offices?
Right in the Capitol complex area. We're 2 blocks away from the Capitol.
Gordon, how do they determine the amount of money that they contribute to run y'all's organization?
It's a dues-based entity.
Based on the enrollment or something like
everything
that?
is dues-based. Institutions have a dues. Organizations within the institutions, like the Alumni Association, the student government organizations, any other groups that want to join, and then individual dues. Alumni have dues. So everything is tiered based on really sort of the capacity to participate. And it's based on size and scope.
One of the biggest things you do, and a lot of our viewers may not be aware of it, you and I are, because we've been around the Capitol a while, is College Day. When you have that, is it always? Every college comes, it's a big day.
It's the largest political,
people.
Well, Higher Education Day is the largest political rally held in the capital city every year, and has been for probably the last 15 years. And it's a day that we really try to take everybody that's in that policy making arena back to a point in time where they remember that great fun experience on that at that university. And when you think about it, Walt Disney said when he built Disney World that he wanted to create scenes within the Magic Kingdom that took every single visitor back to the time they saw their first fire truck. See, because no matter what age you are, that was a fascinating experience. So for us, Higher Ed Day is like that. We want to take everybody in that policy-making arena back to that place where they remember the relationships they made. They remember the experience of growing and learning and evolving when they went to the university. We try to remind people through our speakers and through our program that obviously we make a difference to the economy. We make a difference in how we develop leaders. We make a difference to solving problems. So we combine bands and speakers and food and festivity and then one-on-one conversations with policymakers too are a part of that. And it's really about bringing awareness. I'll tell you what's another really neat thing though. I'll run into people, now that we've been doing it for so long, I'll run into people in the grocery store who'll say, I remember you from Higher Ed Day. And they'll say, that was the first time I'd ever been to Montgomery. Because they hadn't realized really that the government process, particularly the state government process, really is theirs in which to participate. They oftentimes don't take advantage of it. So what we do every year is we bring about 1,500, sometimes as many as 2,300 people here and have a big, full day of high energy, an old-fashioned rally and food, visitations, and back and forth dialogue. It's a full-blown event. It takes a while to put it together, but it's well worth it.
How many institutions of higher education do we have in Alabama?
14 four-year, right? And
14 four-year schools.
Right.
Given our population, is that high or low or?
Well, go back to the earlier statement I referenced where we talk about the need for public universities and public four-year in the state of Alabama. We think we're pretty effectively distributed. If you think about the fact that we have regional institutions as well as we have some special institutions. Like we have one of the nation's only public liberal arts four-year schools in the University of Montevallo, for instance, which is a product that's unique to Alabama, but we don't have as much private liberal art opportunities. So that makes sense, right? And what we have with Troy University, for instance, which historically was covered to wiregrass with great coverage, now has reached out even into an international and global arena with all the programs that they've set up.
It really is an international university now.
Well, that's right, and then you have your two sort of flagship institutions. That one covers the land grant model, and the other covers your more traditional business and medical and other outreach. And then the growth we've had through South with what it does in the Mobile area.
What's the South enrollment now? So
about 12,000 or so. You're right.
What's Alabama and Auburn on the main campus?
Somewhere in the high 20s to 30 at Auburn, and then between 34 and 37. Something
That
like
many
that
students sitting there in Tuscaloosa. Right. Good gosh.
So we serve an audience that represents our state, though. We have different institutions. We have our great work that's done by our historically black colleges and universities at A&M and at Alabama State. We've got, again, as I said, Troy, West Alabama, North Alabama, Jacksonville do a tremendous job in what they do, serving the regional area and a broader area now as they continue to grow. Here in the capital city area, with AUM and the Troy campus that's here and Alabama State, you cover a lot of, and your relationship with the military through Gunner and Maxwell and what we have at the Air War College, tremendous assets. UAB and what they do for Jefferson County is enormous, the biggest employer in Jefferson County, really in the whole central part of the state. We make a big difference. UAH, what they mean in Huntsville with the research park that's there and what they've done in tying in with the Redstone Arsenal and all the work there. It's easy to see when you think about it. How important universities are to the state, and that's what we talk about. That's what the Higher Education Partnership does, and it's my life's been impacted by public universities personally. When I grew up in Pineapple and went to Auburn
in Wilcox County.
That's right. It opened up so many opportunities for me as a young fella who grew up on a cattle farm and a country store to be able to go to Auburn and see how the agricultural industry and business work, get a degree in that, and then be able to do the things I've done. What a tremendous opportunity it provided for me. My daughters are now one's at Troy, one's at Auburn, and they're growing and learning.
And they're freshmen and sophomores?
Right. It's just been a neat experience for us personally, and I'm glad to have the opportunity to take that and share that experience with others and encourage others. As all four members of my family and my immediate families have benefited from it, I want to encourage others to take advantage of that opportunity. So I'm blessed to have this job.
Gordon, you do a good job at it. I wish folks could see that Higher Education Day at one time. That's such an enjoyable time. Everybody comes with their mascot and their colors and their bands, and it's just a great event.
Well, it's designed to be high energy. It's designed to be loud and a little rambunctious, but I tell them it's the one day a year I get out there and really go for it with lots of gusto. But that's what it's designed for. It's a production that's put forth with that kind of energy on purpose.
Speaking about growing up in Wilcox County, I've got a little small chapter in my book about Wilcox County now being your home, being Jeff Sessions' home, Joe Bonner, Judy Bonner, and Kay Ivey.
That's
all
right.
right there from Wilcox County.
That's right, and really within sort of a very common set of time parameters, very very close set of time parameters. But I think it's something about that whole Black Belt region of Alabama that we forget sometimes. We talk about the Black Belt with its challenges, and certainly some of the high unemployment numbers will bring that to reality. But there's something about the work ethic and the character of the people that have come out of the Black Belt that I think has certainly been valuable in later in life.
Well, when I was a young boy paging in the legislature, the Black Belt state senators dominated. You had Senator Gavan from Dallas, you had Roland Cooper from Wilcox, the Wiley Fox from Wilcox. He may have been gone by the time you were growing up.
Well, Judge Cooper, as we knew him when I was younger, was a probate judge in Wilcox.
He went to probate judge after the Senate?
That's right.
Did not know that. During that era, probate judge was the king of the county.
Well, my father was a county commissioner, and county politics really has changed over the years because the role of the county commissioner has changed, with most of the counties going to having a county engineer that runs their road crew, but you know, in the early days, the quote-unquote road commissioners is where they got all their attention.
Oh, I know.
But they still controlled through the budgeting process a lot of programming throughout the county, and we certainly appreciate that. And I think that's one reason I was willing to serve and have been blessed to serve in Pike Road and have appreciated that, is understanding how local impact makes a difference in our daily lives through our local governments. And I think a lot of people, as you know, Steve, because having worked in the many roles of government you've worked in, many people don't realize that. And as my friend Tom Walker, who established the American Village just north of Montevallo, makes the point regularly, you know, we tend to forget about our civic education sometimes and how what makes our government work. And I learned that at an early age watching my dad, and so it's growing up in Wilcox County was good for many reasons for,
but you know,
me.
Talking about that though, let's do talk about Pike Road. That's one of the primary reasons I wanted to have you on the show, is talk about what the plans. I want you to tell the folks about the origins of how, when you first became mayor of Pike Road, what year it was, and you know, where the city limits, the town limits were, and then carry us through what's going on now, and then what do you see the future being for Pike Road? Y'all got a master plan. One thing, I'm not going to try to see your thunder, but you've got the geographical room to grow. Absolutely. Exponentially. I mean, you've almost incorporated the entire southern part of Montgomery County.
Well, not quite the whole county, but we've been fortunate. And
tell us the history and everything.
Well, I'll give you an abbreviated version, but and a lot of credit goes to the people who many generations have been Pike Road residents who, when they saw the eastward growth of the city of Montgomery, began to have an interest in preserving the name Pike Road, the character of the area. And so in an attempt to do that, knowing that growth was coming and that the laws of supply and demand were bringing it, and there wasn't much they could do about it, I think there was a realization, well, at least we could have a voice in it. And the way state government has designed our laws as it relates to local growth and how that is managed, you really had to be incorporated. So a group of residents worked tirelessly with the help of a few friends in the legal profession, and were able to initially incorporate in 1997. That was the year that Wayne Rayburn was our
20 years ago. Was that the time you started with the Council of Higher Education?
That's exactly right, 97. And Wayne Rayburn was our first mayor, and they were able to meet the density requirements for population that were necessary to be incorporated legally along a little path that went from the historic center of Pike, where Meriwether, Pike, and Wallahatchie came together, and they went west of that, about 2 miles down Meriwether, and that's where they met the population density and could get the petition signed, and that was the birthplace of incorporated Pike Road. Now, the community of Pike Road goes way back to the old federal highway, when the federal road, almost you might call it the federal trail, came through, and even the first Baptist
Andrew Jackson
Baptist church in this area was the Antioch Church out off of Mount Meigs, which came along that same federal road. But so the community had been around a long time, and the settlers had invested well and made it a fine place well before in 1997 when we incorporated. But the history of the town, so after that, from 97 to about 2000, it was small and didn't grow a lot. But we began to realize that if we wanted that voice to be meaningful, we had to pass ordinances and adopt standards. So with the help of the Central Alabama Regional Planning Organization, we put some initial land use plans together and standards. I was able to become part of the council in 2000. And then Miss Judy Rittenauer took over as the mayor, and Mayor Rayburn actually became our planning commission director because he wanted to have a role in how those standards would look. And from 2000 to 2004, that's what we worked on, and didn't grow a lot. But in 2004, Mayor Rittenauer said she didn't want to run, and she asked me if I would be willing to run. And I laughed. I told my wife, not shortly after that I said, well, I still got to go to the meetings as a council member. We just meet once a month. It's no big deal. And about a few months into that experience,
y'all were already incorporated.
We were incorporated.
How many people lived there?
About 300.
300 people is all that Pike Road had.
And about a few months after that October swearing in was when we found out that the governor and the legislature were going to let us grow. And what had happened was we had 40 people that had lived across still owned Pike Road, but not in the incorporated area. And the only way they could get in was with the legislature's blessing. And long story made short, we asked them to let us do it. And over the course of time between the regular session and the special session, when they said they would let us, they would try to let us do it, that 40 grew to 900 because our clerk, Miss Charlene Rayburn, had so many friends, and she told them all about it, and they kept signing petitions. So when I became mayor in October, we had about 300 people. By January 1st of 2005, the legislature had passed this annexation bill, let us bring in some more people, and we went from 300 to 1,300. So in February of '05, we had a town hall meeting, invited all those people to come in, asked them what they wanted us to do. It was at that meeting that we adopted what we still use today, what we call our 4 pillars, which was driven by the people who said they wanted us to focus on 4 things. Planning, know where you're going, what you're going to look like when you get there. Education, give us choices, give us options in public education that we have confidence in. Have good services, be efficient, but have good services. And number 4, recognize the quality of life of the area and do everything you can to maintain high standards and quality of life. So we set out in '05 with a plan to try to figure out how to do that. And one of the wisest things was a guy that was in the development business that had been working on starting businesses all over the state, came to us and said, I think you ought to hire some professional planners. And we did. A company came in and looked at Pike Road, and that geography after that legislative annexation actually spread from the Wall area near 85 all the way around to Woodley Road on the other side of 231. So that crescent, if you would, on the eastern side of the city of Montgomery, although we had different parcels with different areas of emphasis, that crescent was about 16 miles wide and about 10 miles deep. So the planners came in and looked at it, and they said, you know, you guys have a unique opportunity. You don't have a lot of infrastructure to take out. So take advantage of this. Look at all those really special places like Mount Meigs and Mary and Wall and Cecil and McDade and historic Pike Road and Carter Hill and Rolling Hills, and try to capture that. So we built a model in 2005 based on town centers. And with that, and their guiding principles to try to maintain character, we set out with a plan to try to grow the area. And we still use those same town center models today. We're in our 3rd comprehensive plan adaptation. We have a group of planners that we actually have a master's level planner that we just hired from the city of Auburn, who now is our own staff full-time planning director. Does a tremendous job. We have consultants out of Mobile and Nashville that are helping us constantly refresh and rejuvenate that. It's been exciting, and most of us didn't know anything about planning and the business of planning, and now we've learned so much about how you maintain architectural standards, how you maintain open space, how you work to keep a certain blend of landscaping and all those characteristics, how you direct growth and where you want commercial and residential, and what all those styles, the things that we've learned so much about what makes Fairhope special, what makes places along the coast of South Carolina special, what is it that Franklin, Tennessee has that makes it special. We've learned and tried to massage our plans to include some of that. So that's been neat. The second thing, the school discussion.
That's what I want to talk about.
That was really fascinating.
'05 is when you became the mayor.
'04, end of '04, and '05 is when we started down the school path. It was a 10-year journey from '05 to 2015 when we opened the school. And that
you knew in '05 you were going to have a school, though.
We knew in '05 we wanted to answer the question of how do we build confidence in public education. And we worked our way through a basic set of sort of practical.
Let me stop you. The school at the Wars is one K through 5 or 6?
That's K-8. That's our first campus.
Okay.
But we've since bought the historic school at Wallahatchie and Pike, and now it's becoming our second campus.
It's going to be a high school?
It'll be a middle school next,
okay.
And then we'll evolve to a high school at some location.
I'm sorry to interrupt your plan, though, y'all will.
So in '05, we started looking at schools. We did a lot of research. We studied the best school systems in Alabama. We looked at what made public schools successful in Alabama. We looked at our options for working collaboratively with the county system, and ultimately determined that the best thing we could do was follow a model that was called a professional development school model that we had been enlightened by some of our university partners, because I had these connections with the universities. We were able to work with Troy and with Alabama State and with AUM and with Auburn and build a real network of engaged contributors. And then we also work with over 60 citizens that served on an education committee. And those people, together with those professionals, chose this professional development model, which we then began to study and learn about. We adopted a school in Gainesville, Florida as a sort of a sample of what we wanted to do, spent a lot of time with them, and began to tell the story though. Because one thing we realized with 1,300 people, we had to have 5,000 to have a school system. But we had 40 neighborhoods in the area that we now touched at least. Mm-hmm. So by growing the town one house at a time and engaging those people in it, we began to see our population grow while at the same time walking down that path of learning about quality K through 12 options. We saw a parallel develop that really led us to have a great sense of opportunity. And in 2010, we crossed that threshold. We achieved 5,000 residents. We were able to then vote to effectively separate from the county school system. We then asked the citizens if they would support revenue for our school system. They said yes. We passed it, was one of 3 out of 50 statewide to accept that challenge. Citizens led that all the way through, citizens going door to door, citizens' ideas in this school system. And now today we have over 1,100 students. We have a campus, a K-8 campus that's doing great. We have an innovative model that was so innovative, we're still learning how to implement it in some places, and it's a great opportunity to redefine public education and do it in a way that gives everybody confidence in the product. Now, it takes time. As I remind each and every person that we visit with, you just got one dose, the next dose, the next dose. You can't cure the patient all at once. You've got to just take it one step at a time. But we're real proud of that. Been very successful.
K-8 is already built at the Waters, and you'll go to middle school. What will that be?
Well, we add one class a year until we get to K-12. So we'll be K-9 next year. K-10 we should be ready to move to the second campus for the upper students. Then K-11, K-12, and then we'll address the high school as we move forward. But we've got a full complement of really innovative teachers, great academic. The model they use, which is fascinating, is called project-based learning. And project-based learning, which is sort of the next level above that PDS that we talked about, project-based learning says to young people, let's identify a challenge and let's learn math, let's learn science, let's learn how to write, let's learn how to do all the critical basic parts of education while learning how to apply them in a way that solves that problem. And it's a neat approach.
One quick question. We've only got a few seconds left. What is the estimated population?
We've got about 8,000 citizens today. We've got great economic development opportunities. So let me close on this if I could. With that outer loop that's going to come through, which has been a part, we knew it was coming in our plan. 4 interchanges, some tremendous locations for businesses. One of the things we're most excited about, and I said we had 4 pillars, our quality of life component has a real dedicated commitment to citizen involvement, committees of citizens doing things like recreation, arts, all kinds of really wonderful programming. It also has a component though for business growth. We're excited about the future because not only is it going to be a great place to have residents, but the services, we've dealt with that pillar also, the services are in place. The infrastructure is there. We just finished a community-wide transportation plan that we hired. Not many cities of 8,000 people have been fortunate enough to be able to do that. With those characteristics, good quality of life programming, good services, good education system, and quality planning, we think we're not only positioned for continued growth in a residential way, but we're positioned for quality business growth too. So the future's really exciting in Pike Road, and I'm honored and blessed, Steve, to have been the mayor, to work with great council members, tremendous visionaries, but most of all citizens who have fought day in, day out to make this character-based community a reality.
Well, I appreciate you taking time to be with us, Gordon. Again, our guest has been Gordon Stone, the mayor of Pike Road. Thank you all for watching. Hope you tune again next week for This Week in Alabama Politics.